ארץ אשר הנידחים בארץ מצרים ובאו האויבים בארץ אשר והנידחים בארץ מצרים השתחוו להשם בהר הקודש והשתחוו להשם בהר הקודש השתחוו להשם בהר הקודש והשתחוו להשם בהר הקודש ירושלים ירושלים Yerushalayim, 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 Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, 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 Yerushalayim. Esther Chai is supposed to be coming also, Aaron. So it's good that you hear because I didn't hear. Okay. Judy's coming back after Shavuos on the 12th or the 11th. Yeah. Today she's flying to her mother. Thank you. In Florida. She was in Boston till now. Now she's going to her mother in Florida. Hopefully she'll convince her to come back here. But I have my doubts. Where's the when it gets hot again, I'll shut it off. I'm not turning on the camera. Okay, we're on page 95. So that was an awesome teaching that we learned yesterday. That the whole concept of kinyan of that's taking place. What is actually happening? Okay, so we're at the bottom of 95. Rega ha'ichud, the moment of the unification. So Reb Shlomo says, Yosef Sarah. That's the name of the Chosin in the Kala. K'chol shani chai yoter, the longer I live, mitbarer li she is here. Your father was said, שלח לישון ב4, שבטח שאת לא מגיעה. You see? ברוך השם. Vivian, you want a book? Take a book. It's okay, but you can, I'm translating anyway. Whatever you want.
Put your finger and then you learn that.
But you follow, you can follow the words, yeah? No, okay. Okay, so Reb Shlomo says, the bottom of 95. Kechol shani chai yoter, the longer I'm living, the mitbarer li kama nisuim hem davar amiti. It becomes clearer to me how real marriage is. Kama nisuim hem davar amok. It's become clearer and clearer to me that marriage is a very deep thing. אם בורא עולם לא היה נותן לנו את הזכות, לעולם לא היינו מגיעים לכך. If God wouldn't have given us the merit or the gift of marriage, we would never have attained it ourselves. Now, I mentioned yesterday this documentary, and I wish I would know the name of it so I could find it. Right? God did put into the creation a drive, it's in the nature of all living creatures, even plants, right, to reproduce. It's just a natural thing, apparently, right? And every creature, right? It's like, God created male and female, and the cats didn't go to school to learn about reproduction, and the fish didn't go to school to learn about it, etc. Right? It's just it's a davar מאוד tipi. Okay. So in other words, there would naturally be a drive to reproduce. But what's this union of marriage? And in fact, like we've seen. In some places you come in late, you have to sit next to the teacher. No, okay. Is that a Band-Aid or your tag that's over here? It's your tag or a Band-Aid? So we would naturally, instinctually reproduce, right? But marriage, and in this particular documentary, it was just amazing. There's so many different societies in the world. One of the societies that they discovered was a society in Korea, someplace in Korea, which is basically, like yesterday I mentioned one where it's all men, right? This one is basically all women, and they keep a few men alive for reproduction. And the women spend their lives from diving in cold water. They spend their entire lives, they dive underwater, and they manage to stay as long as 8 minutes underwater to catch octopus.
Catch what?
Octopus. Octopi.
Why?
They sell it. They eat it. They sell it. And they keep a few men alive. And you look at the men, they look like, like they're sitting there smoking and playing cards. And they're just a few, and they keep them in a corner. And I'm not joking. I'm not making this up.
This is where in Korea?
Somewhere in Korea, yeah. It's a tribe.
There's another culture that does the same thing.
And
where the men are, it's a woman-dominated culture.
Yeah. And they only need them for one thing, and it's because they don't have if they would have artificial insemination, they wouldn't even bother with the men. I don't know, but so when I was visiting my son-in-law's father, he has beehives, so he has all over his house. He has these beautiful pictures of beehives from inside, and bees are also female societies. The queen bee and all the bees that you see out are all female. And in the beehive, they keep a few males in the corner. They're ugly. They don't look as they're nowhere nearly as good looking as the regular bees that you see. And this was the exact same thing in this community in Korea. In any case, so reproduction is a natural, instinctual thing, right? But to get married and to have a union, a relationship, Reb Shlomo says that's a gift from Hashem in the Torah. In other words, the whole concept that there is such a thing as getting married, and that two people can actually bond and become one. This is a gift. It's a zchut. It's a zchut that Hashem gave us. Okay. So Gemara אומרת שבריאת העולם הוא נס גדול. The Gemara says that the creation of the world is a great miracle. אבל אין היא מגיעה לנס החיבור בין שני אנשים. But it doesn't compare to the miracle of two people uniting, שבו שני אנשים יכולים להפוך לאדם אחד, that two people can become like one person.
The word
אנשים, people, yeah. אנשים, בני אדם. So הזוהר, page 96, הזוהר הקדוש אומר שאחד לבד הוא לא אחד. One person alone isn't really one. כמו שאחד ועוד אחד הוא אחד. Just like 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. I'm sorry, just like 1 plus 1 is I'm not sure exactly which way he was going here.
multiplied by 1.
Yeah. Do me a favor, go run and catch that, okay? It might be my wife, so I need to know. Okay. I'm not going to come to the phone, but tell me who it is.
Your wife, you need to go to the phone.
No, because she has a cell phone, but she can call by a landline, but she can't call. Anyway, so okay, so there's something not clear over here, but it says כמו שאחד ועוד אחד הוא אחד. So he's saying that it's like okay, this is what he needs to say. What the Zohar is saying is that one alone isn't really one. But it's when is one one, is when it's 1 plus 1. I mentioned it the other day that Reb Shlomo once put it this way. He said, what's the difference between arithmetic on Shabbat and arithmetic during the week? So during the week, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And on Shabbos, 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. Right? Understand that there's so that's the issue. Is it when two people are getting married? Is it 1 plus 1 equals 2, or is it 1 plus 1 equals 1? Right? וגם זה לא אחד גמור. עד שנולד מזה עוד אחד קטן, and even when the 1 plus 1 is 1, it's still not complete until they bring a child into the world. ואז זה באמת אחד אמיתי, then it's a real אחד. That wasn't my wife, right? Okay. ואז זה באמת אחד אמיתי. Then it becomes really 1. When the 1 plus 1 equals to 3, then it's אחד אמיתי. So he says, אנו מברכים אתכם באחד קטן. See, you understand, you know, we heard the story that this company was looking for an accountant. So 200 people applied for the job, and they had only one question: how much is 2 plus 2? And who got the job? The one who answered, how much do you want it to be? Okay. I understand I can just imagine most elementary school teachers, if they would read this, they'd go crazy. What? 1 plus 1? Like 1 plus 1 is 2. What do you mean 1 plus 1 is 1? 1 plus 1 is 3. What do you mean by that? Okay, so you understand the concept, and the concept is that, in other words, that you're really part of the one when you're part of the process of creation. That's the idea. אנו מברכים אתכם באחד קטן שיעשה את האחד ועוד אחד שלכם לאחד היפה ביותר בעולם. So we blessed you with the 1 plus 1 to be 3, in other words, to bring another one into the world, and then it becomes the most beautiful one. Okay, so now he's going on to the breaking of the cup. So there's different minhagim. Some break the cup right after the Kiddushin, right after the first part of the ceremony, and some break the glass just at the very end of the chuppah. There's different minhagim. So everybody knows that why do you break the cup, right? We sing, Imesh Kachech Yerushalayim, right? Imesh Kachech Yerushalayim, Tishkach, Tishkach, Tishkach Yemini, right?
What does that mean?
If I forget you, Yerushalayim, let my right, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, then let my right, my right side be forgotten. Where's the Mishkach? Where is it? Welcome. Vivian, since you're not using the book, can you give them that book? Well, look who's here. You're alive, despite all. Baruch Hashem.
She's waiting for you to come back to America. You crazy?
What time? I'm not gonna come.
I didn't say you shouldn't come. I said, Baruch Hashem, you're alive.
But you singled me out. I'm so excited. It's like discouraging, actually.
No, who singled you out?
Oh, you're saying you're alive.
Also,
Because you're all alive.
you don't know. You missed the math lesson just now. It won't help.
Uh-oh. What are you talking about?
We said that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1 or 3,
It's definitely not 3.
not 2.
Okay, what'd you put in my coffee?
I didn't put anything in there. But
I didn't ask it's either or. It is either or. It's not. Is
where
it
does
this or
3
is it
come?
that?
1 plus 1 equals 3. It's not us.
If you have a baby, it's called 3.
Oh, we're doing jokes.
No.
Jokes?
We're doing higher level. We're doing higher level math.
I was thinking of
1. In other words, if the Zohar says a full 1 is when it's 1 plus 1 equals 3. Okay? Weiter. Yeah.
One human being plus one human being is called 1 if you're married. And if you have a child, so one human being equals 3.
Why aren't you teaching? You make more sense than you do.
See?
You never say that about a student ever.
Okay. We're on page 96, Hagvura. Okay? So we're talking about breaking the glasses, right? עכשיו, אני צריך להיות לבד עם יוסף ושרה מתחת לחופה. I need to be alone with Yosef and Sarah for a moment under the chuppah, כי רגע לפני ששוברים את הכוס, because the moment before breaking the glass, הוא בבחינת קודש הקדשים. It's the aspect of the Holy of Holies. ונאמר, וכל אדם לא יהיה באוהל מועד, and it says, that when the Kohen Gadol, when the high priest went into the Holy of Holies, nobody else was allowed to be there besides him. And that's an amazing thing that Shlomo is doing over here, because I never saw him. Like I was at more than one wedding with Reb Shlomo. He never told anybody else to leave the chuppah. So what did he actually mean at this particular point? I'm not sure. But yeah?
Well, going to go with the truth.
Yeah. Right. 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 You see? Yeah, because you're a Kohen, you knew that. So I hope he's going to explain it. Let's see what we're doing. בבקשה להניח את הכוס על הרצפה, let's put the glass on the floor, אבל לא לדרוך עליו עדיין, don't step on it yet. So now he's talking to the chosim. יוסף, הרבה אנשים רוצים לצערי לראות עם החתן חזק. A lot of people Unfortunately, or to my distress, they want to see if the chassan is a strong guy. Hem amrim, lo, so to speak, they're telling him, "Bov nirei im ata yachol lishbor kos." Let's see if you can break a glass. Ze מאוד גס ומרגיז. That's very gross and very upsetting. וזאת לא הכוונה בשבירת הכוס מתחת לחופה. That's not the intention of breaking the. That's not why we break the glass, to see if you're strong enough to break a glass. רבותינו הקדושים אומרים לנו שיש שתי מילים, כוח וגבורה. Our rabbis teach us there are two words. One is strength, koach, and gvura is power. Okay? Koach, strength, nimdad al pi hayacholet shelcha להרוג מישהו, או היכולת שלך להפיל מישהו. זה כוח פיזי. And people, the word koach is referring to your strength in the ability to do away with somebody, to knock somebody off. That's physical strength. Gvura, power, nimdedet al pi hayacholet shelcha להחיות מישהו. Power is measured by your ability to give somebody life, to save somebody's life. Power is not your ability to destroy life, your ability to give life, to save life.
What is the word or
Physical. It's not really a Hebrew word. It's an adopted word. Right? וזה מה שאנו אומרים בתפילת העמידה. That's what we say in the davening, in the Amidah. We say, אתה גיבור לעולם Hashem. You are the ultimate גיבור, the ultimate powerful one, God. מחיה מתים אתה. And what do we say? You give life to the dead. Right? In other words, the gevura is about giving life, not about destroying life. Right? Very, very interesting idea. תרימי את הראש. ככה. Okay. Take another swallow. It's okay. Give her a whack on the back. Okay. The Mishnah, who remembers the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot by heart? Ezehu Gibor. HaKobesh es Yitzchok. The Mishnah says, who is the Gibor? One who can control his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination. That's Gevura. Gevura, in other words, to hold back your destructive energy, to control that and use your energy to give life. That's Gibor, right? One who conquers his Yetzer Hara. כלומר, ריבונו של עולם, אתה באמת חזק. Meaning to say that God, you're really strong. Right? They say, כדי לשבור את הכוס, so he says to the Chatan, page 97, in order to break the cup, אתה צריך רק מעט כוח. You just need a little bit of physical strength. אבל אני רוצה שתשבור את הכוס לא בכוח, but I want you to break this glass not with physical power, but אלא בגבורה, with strength, with real power.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It's a good question, right?
Well, isn't that why we use a thinner glass, like a light bulb often? Because it shouldn't be about needing to stomp on the bima. It should be about
that, and also once like when I use a glass, I make sure to point out to the chosn where you should step on the glass, because it once happened at a chuppah that the chosn stepped on it and the glass broke and went right through his shoe. And I had to be taken right away for stitches. You know.
But you're allowed to have a light bulb?
Yeah. But generally speaking, if you just do it, carefully, it's not an issue.
It seems to me that it doesn't matter what you step on, because the whole purpose is there for the children.
Right. Well, okay, so
It
that,
can be anything.
right, but usually it's a cost, right? I don't know, and then our friend Sheva Chayed, who's an artist, and she's a glass blower in Tzfat. So she's doing this new thing that she tells people that save the glass, and then she melts it and makes a kiddush cup out of it.
Oh, we just put it in the candy dish. It's the last time we made it, so it's okay. That's my family does it. Give it a second.
I don't think any man finds it funny.
One does.
I
Because
don't.
his wife says so.
Okay, so what does it mean to break something with gevura and not with just plain sheer physical strength?
It's like power comes from restraint and discipline.
Right.
Knowing when to use strength and when not, and when you don't.
Could it be said that co-op, going back to what we've already learned here, that co-op would be destroying, it's a destructive behavior, and Rura is one that gives life.
Right.
So one can say that one is giving life to a new human.
Right, but why break a glass? You know what I mean? And that itself is correct, but we're trying to relate it to the breaking of the glass. Okay.
We're breaking
So-
the glass, all these yesterday for the korban, but it's also the close of your past life, because your life is starting out. You're breaking that
Well,
edge out to you.
The part about Zecher the Churban is the part I'm going to pick up on. Okay. It says that anybody who or everybody who mourns over the destruction of the temple will also get to celebrate the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. If you don't mourn over it, you're not going to celebrate when it's going to be rebuilt. Okay. Now, it's a certain gevura to be able to be at your simcha, at your wedding party, and remember that the Beit HaMikdash is still destroyed. You understand? Like you use the word restraint. You understand? It's like it's a real gevura, not to be lost in the moment, so to speak, right? And to remember the larger picture, to remember that the Beit HaMikdash still has to be rebuilt. Okay.
So it's a grounding moment?
In a certain,
Attributes physical
yeah,
attributes.
yeah, but it's
the
right. So people, yeah, we like to we don't deal with just concepts. We always want some kind of a physical manifestation of it. You know. On another occasion, Reb Shlomo said that, and I'm going back to what he said earlier when he's talking about that this is a moment of Kodesh HaKodashim. Now, he didn't explain it here, but elsewhere he spoke about the following. And when does the Kohen Gadol, when does the high priest go into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, right? And what is he doing? Who is he praying for? He's praying for all of Israel, right? Reb Shlomo said that on a certain level, he's going in there and he's saying to God, whatever anybody did wrong, it's my fault. Okay, now you got to understand that. I'm still responsible for what I did, right? There's an expression in Yiddish, from wie stinkt der Fisch, from Kopf oder from the Schwanz? And the answer is, from Kopf. Right? Where does the fish stink from? Like, when you go buy a fish, and you want to know if it's fresh, where do you smell it? The head or the tail? You smell it from the head, right? So it's become like an expression. If something is wrong in the community, where does it start from? The tail or from the head? It starts from the head. Okay? In other words, to be a leader basically means that what you do is affecting everybody in the community.
Then why do we say you could do about someone on
because
you
you're,
know, you should be a head and not a tail if the head has so much cont'd.
yeah, because you still want to be a head instead of a schwanz, right? You want to you don't want achrayut. Of course, you want achrayut. You know, what do you want to be
You want the achrayut in the right way.
in the right way, right?
Some people are better followers than leaders.
Yeah, followers, you're still responsible. You know, the one thing about Judaism is that you don't get away from responsibility. Okay. So the there's a story about Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev that that one Yom Kippur there was a big commotion in heaven because the angels were piling up all the sins of the people, and all of a sudden they all got stolen. And so they sent out the posse to catch the thief. And who was the thief? The thief was Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. So there was a mishpat, there was a court case, and they caught him. And according to halacha, when the thief gets caught, he has to pay back double. And if he doesn't have money to pay back, he can't pay back. He gets sold as a slave. So Reb Levi Yitzchak wasn't able to pay back. So the word went out, is there anybody willing to buy Reb Levi Yitzchak as his slave? And Hashem says, yeah, I'm buying him. He's mine. Okay? So Reb Shlomo always spoke about, like, the highest level, it's very easy to see somebody doing something wrong and to criticize them. Very easy, right? But you have to ask yourself, of all the things you could have seen today, why did you have to see somebody doing something wrong? And if you believe in Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence, that means that Hashem is watching over everything. That means to say that Hashem orchestrated that you should be there and see so-and-so doing something wrong. So the question is, why did Hashem do that? Why didn't Hashem orchestrate that you should walk down the street this way and you would see some musicians playing some beautiful music? Why did Hashem orchestrate that you should walk down the other street and see somebody doing something wrong? So the Baal Shem Tov says on the Mishnah, don't judge a person until you're in their place. So he says two things. He says, first of all, according to Jewish law, when somebody is being judged and the judges pronounce the verdict, the person on trial has to say, I accept the judgment. So let's say I'm being judged for something up in heaven, and it was decided such and such. So how did they get me to agree to the judgment? So it's arranged that I should see somebody doing something that I was just judged on. And if I מסדרים בעל הדין צריך לקבל את המשפט, להסכים למשפט. אז הוא צריך להגיד שהוא מקבל עליו את הדין. אז מן השמיים מסדרים שהוא יראה מישהו אחר עושה אותו דבר, ואם הוא שופט אותו, אז הוא כאילו הסכים למשפט. So if you see somebody doing something, and in your mind you say, oh, he deserves this and this, you should know that you've just passed judgment on yourself. You've just agreed to that judgment on yourself. Okay? So the Baal Shem Tov says, Al tadin et chavecha ad she'tagia lemkomo, because shahit b'makom shelo. For your own benefit, don't judge them. Okay? Who's that, Rabbi? Tipping. For your own benefit, don't judge them. But then the Baal Shem Tov goes deeper. And he says, when you see somebody doing something negative, you should know that Hashem is showing you that you've got the same problem. You also have that problem. Maybe on a different shade of gray, maybe not to the same extent, maybe not in the same vulgar way.
That stuff in the world.
No, but if he says, for example, let's say you see somebody is being Mechalel Shabbat, somebody's not keeping Shabbos, right? So maybe you're keeping Shabbos, but there's things, for example, if you used a Talmid Chacham, the Gemara says a Talmid Chacham is on the level of Shabbat, okay, and you maybe treated a Talmid Chacham improperly, and it's as if you took the holiness of Shabbat and profaned it. Okay, so that regardless of the examples, the point is, you see somebody doing something wrong, know that you have the same problem, maybe in a different shade of gray. You understand? Maybe not, maybe more delicate, maybe more adin. Okay, and Hashem is showing you, you have to do tshuva on that.
Isn't there also the concept of, if you see it, just have fun?
Wait, I'm coming to that. Yes.
Right.
Right.
Also, isn't there also
And then there's another aspect. Is Hashem is saying, you see this problem? I showed it to you because you have a part in making it better. Whatever, even to that person. In other words, if it's somebody that you can go over and talk to them and explain to them why they should not do that and so on, that's what you should do. If it's somebody that you're not able to do that, but you can give them a blessing. You can pray over it. And sometimes the very fact that you yourself are doing tshuva over that brings the energy of tshuva into the world, and that other person will also possibly be inspired to do the tikkun that they need to do. Okay? So just to bring it back, so now he's saying like this. He says to the Chosn and the Kaleb, he says, this moment is going to be a moment of Kodesh HaKodeshim. You're going into the Holy of Holies. So he's saying to the Chosn, you like the Kohen Gadol, like the high priest, when he goes into the Holy of Holies, he's not just asking Hashem to forgive all of us. He's basically saying to Hashem, my job is to bring your consciousness into the world in a very powerful way. And if people are doing transgressions, that means I'm not doing my job that as well as I should. So he's saying to the Chosn, he's saying, you're going into the Kodesh HaKodeshim, and I want you to take responsibility that if anything is going to get broken in your home, you should be ready to take responsibility for it. Don't blame somebody else. You're the Baal Habayit, you're the leader of the house. Know that if something gets broken, it's your responsibility.
Broken.
Shavu.
Yeah.
אם זה דבר גשמי, אם זה דבר גשמי או אם זה דבר רוחני, לא משנה. Okay. You understand? Now, I didn't read it, but the Reb Shlomo Arush has 2 books on Shalom Bayit. One is, maybe now he has 3, I don't know, but one is for men and one is for women. And the front page for the one for men, it says, this is for men only, and the one for the women, it says, this is for women only, and don't, if you're a man, don't read it. But what he basically tells the men, if you don't have Shalom Bayit in your house, it's your fault. If you don't have peace in the home, it's your fault. You are not doing your Avodat Hashem in a way that is nourishing your wife, and that's why you're having problems in Shalom Bayit.
Can you say that in the book of the women's?
I wasn't allowed to read it. You understand? But the idea is, in other words, that's Kodesh HaKodeshim. Understand? What he's saying is, what's holy of holies? Holy of holies is that you're not judging somebody else, but you're taking responsibility, even for something that somebody else did. So even though halachically or technically the other guy broke the window, he's the one who has to pay for it, right? But I'm responsible that there's somebody in the community that's breaking windows. Okay?
It's too deep. It's like everybody can break in. You can't blame yourself though. Everybody.
Yeah, but never mind blaming yourselves. Let's just say, אני צריך לעשות משהו יותר טוב כדי שתהיה אווירה יותר קדושה, שאנשים לא יעשו דבר כזה.
Now, Moshe had responsibility for the Egel, even though he was up on the mountain, where he took responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so now.
Are we talking only about the Kohen Gadol?
No, but we're all of the people of Israel are Kohanim. Kohen Gadol is taking a greater degree of responsibility, right? But basically, that's the way. That's the union of Kodesh Kodashim, is that you're taking responsibility for yourself and for everybody else too.
I see somebody doing something low could say that it's my fault.
I didn't say it's your fault. It's in your, for you. See?
I'm joking.
Why do you say he's joking? Maybe he's not joking.
No, but it's your fight if he continues.
It's Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. All of Israel are intertwined.
But there's also an opinion that someone who's a teen of the spouse doesn't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that they're doing something. You shouldn't tell them because then you make them doing it on purpose.
If you know that they're not going to listen, but if they're going to
you
listen,
don't know. If you just see in this country, you have to assume that 95% of the people are that you're good at.
So
at the same time, you don't want to tell a Chiloni person, by the way, that's us or on Shabbos, because they're not going to care.
And not only
it makes them more pious.
That's right, and it's the way Rav Fink put it was that it's a matter of Ahavat Yisrael not to tell him, okay, because like he said, now he's going to do it on purpose, okay. So we've learned about that, like the Gemara already ruled 2,000 years ago that nobody really knows how to give tochacha, nobody really knows how to rebuke, nobody really knows how to receive rebuke, and so on. But we still have to encourage each other to do the right thing.
And if I see somebody doing something really great, really wonderful, I take responsibility too for this.
There is an opinion that whatever happens within a community is representation of the community. People, something happen. A lot of people are sick. Then something's wrong in the community. But if there's a lot of people winning the lottery, or you're getting great investments coming through, there's something else in the community, which also could be a bad thing. It could be a close as well as money in the community.
Oh yeah. And you can always set a good example for someone else, so they could be doing something wrong. But if you're showing something positive, you're not necessarily rebuking them, but you're showing.
The point is, we're all totally intertwined. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. And the word Arevim has two meanings. One is we're responsible for one another, and the other one is that we are Ogavim. We are intertwined with one another.
But it's hard.
You understand?
Nobody's
Of course, forget about perfect. Forget about perfect. We're not even talking about perfect.
That's what
You know what they say in Chabad? They say, forget about whether we're going to hell or not. We know where we're going, but it's going to be for bringing. Okay? So, the Torah is not about being perfect. The Torah is about not giving up on improving. Right? There's nobody, I shouldn't say there's nobody, there's one person in the Torah, but we don't know very much about him, Chanach. But otherwise, the Torah is not about people who are perfect. The Torah tells us straight what this one did, and what this one did, and what this one did, and what we did. The whole Sefer Bamidbar is full of our mistakes. Right?
Isn't it that we are perfect and not perfect at the same time? We are perfect and not perfect at the same time. Like a part of us, like a
the neshama
Neshama is
is
perfect,
yes,
complete perfection,
right,
but
right.
what we think we are, isn't.
Yeah, right.
So we need to improve.
So
but
you
maybe-
start the morning and you say, Elohai neshama shenatata bi taharahi. God, the soul that you gave me is pure. In other words, there's a part of me that is always pure. There's a part of you that is always pure. And then the rest has to be made better. Right?
Isn't that why there's all the stories in the Tanakh about the sins of our forefathers?
Yeah.
And after the Mabul with North, like all that's just to remind us, these people too, you made them alive.
But it goes further than that, Ahuva. Reb Nachman says these are stories about you and me. They're our stories.
That's also today.
In other words, not this. It's also today, and it's me. You understand? We're in the story. The question you have to figure out, where am I in the story at this time? You know. Okay. So, Hanachama hatmidit, the continuous comforting. So he says, you know what you're promising your wife when you're breaking the glass with gevura, with real power? What you're promising her is, if you're, God forbid, going to be sad, I will enliven you. And both of you are promising your children that when you're going to cry and you're going to be sad, will give you life again. Okay? So that's another lesson that is deriving from the breaking of the cup. Then there's a third one, not to remain stuck in your vessels. So he says, Yosef, Yosef, I'm blessing you that you should continue learning. Even though you're going to be running the house beautifully, your nose should be in the holy books. Not just in the pots that you're cooking with. Right?
It's for the lady.
So he's saying yes. So he's saying like this. What he's saying is don't get stuck in breaking the glass means that sometimes you got to break out of your habits, break out of your limitations. Don't get stuck and say, like, this is what I do and I never do more than that. No, maybe it's time to do more, right? Don't get stuck in saying, oh, I can't do more. You could do more. Then he says it's a fourth thing, Sod Havanat HaChuban, the secret of understanding the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Im Adam Chai B'Rakevet HaTachtit. If somebody is living in the subways, right, a homeless person, Umishu Mesaper Lo Shibed et Beito Ka'et, and somebody comes and says, somebody comes and tells them that they lost their house. He's going to say, Azma, so what? Gam ani chai b'rechov, I'm also living in the street. Kach gam atem, same with you. Kol od einachem nesuim, so long as you haven't been married, v'ani omer lachem, and I tell you, nechrav Beit HaMikdash, that the temple has been destroyed, tem lo yodim ma pirush hadavar. You don't really understand what it means that the temple was destroyed. But when you start to build a house, and God is giving you a house to build, then suddenly you remember, woe, the house of the people of Israel has been destroyed. Page 98. Okay, אגיד לכם דבר תורה מכל הצדיקים. Now I want to teach you something that all the tzaddikim spoke about. כמה זמן לוקח לשבור כוס? How long does it take to break something? מכה אחת, one bang and it breaks. כמה זמן לוקח להחריב את בית המקדש? How long does it take to destroy the בית המקדש? פסיעה אחת שאינה במקומה, one wrong step. כמה זמן לוקח להרוס נישואים? How much does it take to break up a marriage? גם פסיעה אחת בלבד שאינה במקומה. Also one wrong step can ruin a marriage. רגע אחד שלא אכפת לו ממך. One moment that you don't care. רגע אחד שלא אכפת לך ממנו. One moment that you don't care about him. One moment that you don't care about her. רגע אחד שבו אתם לא אוהבים זה את זה. All it takes is one moment where you don't love each other. That's enough to destroy it. So תאמרו לי, tell me, אנחנו אוהבים זו את זו 365 ימים בשנה. You might say to me, we love each other 365 days a year. רק במשך כמה שעות אנחנו לא אוהבים זה את זה. It's just a few hours in the year that we don't love each other. לא, זה לא עובד ככה, it doesn't work that way. דקה אחת יכולה להרוס את כל הנישואים. One moment of not loving can ruin a marriage. לכן אנו מזכירים לכם את בית המקדש. So that's why we're reminding you about the בית המקדש, so you should know that it doesn't take much to destroy something. It doesn't take much to destroy something.
But it takes a lot more to rebuild.
It takes a lot more to rebuild.
Is it?
Hmm?
Is it?
But
Is it?
is it?
Does it take long to rebuild it? Maybe it can be like
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
But generally, like something broken. It takes more work to build it than it
because
has
we
to.
think like it's needs
No,
to
but
happen.
even in the physical world, right? That's the way it is in the physical world. Like I can break the stable very fast, but to fix it will take a long time, right? Same thing with a relationship. It's there was a co-teacher that I had that told me that when her children were in grade 1 and 2, every day when she would take them to school, they would throw up every single day. They hated school so much. And now they won't even drive near the building, even though they're adults already, and so on. How long does it take, like people who get abused? It really destroys something deep inside them, and it takes a long time to rebuild trust.
Or maybe to make the teshuvah, of it, to come to that deep
Right.
understanding, to this space of,
Right.
of real teshuvah takes maybe something, but sometimes not.
Right.
It can be like this.
Tshuva can be, if somebody, the Gemara says that if a wicked person says to a woman, "Harei at mekudeshet li al menat shani tzadik gamur," I'm marrying you on the condition that I'm a complete tzaddik. The kiddushin is a real kiddushin. It's a real marriage. Why? But a minute ago, you know that he was a gangster, but it could be that he did complete tshuva right then and there, and it's a true tshuva. Once I went I brought some hippie type of guys with me into this Hasidic shtibel in Montreal, by the square of Hasidim, and this Chassid comes up and he says, Bali Tshuva, these guys are Bali Tshuva. So I said to him, maybe, like he was saying, like, are they going to become like me? So I was saying to him, I said to him, maybe we should be like them, Then he says to me, I would never let my daughter marry about Tshuva. I said, why not? So he said, because I don't trust that a person can change so much. So I said, you're telling me that if you would have been born not religious, you would never become religious. He says, yeah. A lot of people don't.
Very stuck.
Are stuck,
Big time.
right? That's the idea of breaking the cup.
Yeah.
I'm saying, don't be stuck. Don't be stuck in thinking, I can't do anything about it. I can't fix it. You know, you're right. You have to have the mindset to say, we can make it better. Okay?
But sometimes people can change that.
Yeah. It happens all the time. Because just because you did tshuva, but the Yetzer Hara goes on vacation. Doesn't go on vacation.
No, it doesn't work.
He goes to work even harder. You're starting up with me, you're trying to do tshuva, I'll teach you. Right.
So in other words, everything can be fixed. It depends how.
Right.
Is that can be?
Everything can be fixed and don't ever give up on that.
You can't fix a shared glass.
Oh, what?
But you
Glass,
can make
never
but
find
you
that little mini
She's making-
but you can make a new one from it.
To make it more beautiful.
That's not
I
fixed,
told
that's
you
recreation.
it's but the point is that the Baal Tshuva reaches is the Baal Tshuva doesn't just going back to the level that he was at, he goes even higher.
People tend
If
to
it's
forget that.
tshuva me'ahava, you go to an even higher level. I told you the parable the other week about this king has a bunch of precious gems, and every day he takes out his box of precious gems and he looks at them and enjoys them and he puts them back in, and he had this beautiful diamond. And one day he wasn't careful, and when he put it back in, it got scratched against another diamond. So he called all the master jewelers, and everybody says, I can't fix it. And finally one guy came and says, I'll do something with it. And he took it and brought it back the next day with a beautiful rose engraved on the diamond. So he saw the scratch as the beginning of something beautiful. Understand? So you can look at it as a defect, and then you're going to be stuck there. Or you can look at it and say, from this imperfect spot, we're going to make something beautiful out of this, right? And you remember I was speaking about this in the olden days when a chas and kala got married. They spent 7 days alone in a tent, the first 7 days of their married life. And can you imagine being alone with one person in a tent for 7 days, even your best friend? No. And can you so how are you going to be there? Like, you know, so like, and the chassan's looking at her and she's looking at him, you know, like, oh, you're not so perfect. You're not so perfect. You're not so perfect. So what's the point? The point is that they're spending this time together, saying, this we're going to make it beautiful. This we're going to make this beautiful. We're going to make this beautiful. We're going to turn it around. We're going to make it great. Okay. Okay, so the next piece begins with the words mutar litot. You're allowed to make a mistake. We'll learn that tomorrow. Right? You know who doesn't like mistakes? Chefs. Chefs don't like mistakes.
Good, you stop saying them now.
I also cook. Yerushalayim, 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 Yerushalayim. Okay, so you know there's a big gathering at the kotel tonight, and starting around 3 or 4 o'clock, there isn't going to be room for cars to go. You're going to see thousands and thousands of people going down to the kotel. You've never seen this. How much is going to be? About 20,000. It's going to be about 20,000 people tonight at the Kotel.
March through the Arab quarter.
Huh?
The march goes through the Arab quarter and you go through Schwarzstein too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like
It's like one of the only days of the year that like all the Arabs are locked in their houses and they cannot come out. Like that doesn't stop them from throwing things outside their windows, but like